only possible with our technology partner, Lumi Global. You can visit their website at lumiglobal.com to discover more about their various AGM and online investor presentation solutions. Before we start, there are a few housekeeping notes. The company presentation will be followed by a Q&A. As usual, the Q&A will be hosted by the Finance Ghost and Mark Tobin of Coffee Microcaps. You can post your questions by typing them into the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen. The event is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel soon. You will also see an email address when we begin the Q&A session, and please take note of that address if you would like to be added to Orion Minerals investor distribution list. Avi, at this point, I'm ready for you to share the presentation and for Tony to take us through it.
Thank you very much for your patience there, Vanessa. And it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and giving me the opportunity to walk you through an update on Orion as we move toward execution. Clearly, we have our starting cautionary, so I'll leave that as read and understood. I'd like to start with our, during the early part of this year, in readiness for execution and production next year, we took time out to define our real purpose in life and the values that we hold important. These are important for our organisation as we move into execution. It is the fabric around which all our employees over time will come to unify and be part of the organisation. And these are readily available and easily understood on our website. And I've always worked in this arena and find this a very important space to lay the foundation for everything we do. We have a short fly through. It is nominally 3 minutes, and this, I think, will encapsulate for you very readily where Orion is, but more so our Prieska flagship operation.
Across the vast landscapes of the Northern Cape lies a proud history of copper and base metals mining. As South Africa's largest province, yet with the smallest population, the Northern Cape remains one of South Africa's most mineral-rich regions. While best known today for iron ore, manganese, zinc and diamond mining, its copper and other base metals resources will be vital to supplying the metals needed to power tomorrow. And these are gaining momentum again in the Northern Cape. Orion Minerals is leading this, guided by a clear purpose: unlocking resources through people to improve the world. We are giving new life to historic mines with proven potential. Our current portfolio includes the Prieska Copper Zinc Mine, the Okiep Copper Project, and the Yakomainspan Project, which focuses on nickel, copper, cobalt, and platinum group elements. These projects sit within portions of the rich and underexplored Ariagap Belt and the historic Okiep Mining District. The Prieska Copper Zinc Mine is our flagship project and represents Orion's transition from explorer to producer. Its copper and zinc ore body is ranked among the world's top 30 VMS base metal deposits. Between the early 70s and the 90s, the mine processed 46 million tons of ore and produced 430,000 tons of copper. Orion will now develop the remaining 31 million tons of mineral resources containing 370,000 tons of copper. We are advancing to production in 2 integrated stages. Stage 1 focuses on delivering early, shallower production from the mine's uppers, together with dewatering. First delivery is expected within a year of financing. Stage 2 unlocks the more extensive deeps resources as dewatering and major infrastructure are completed. Planning for the uppers covers the first 1 to 4 years of mining. As mining continues in the uppers, the deeps plan begins in year 3 and extends to year 13. Further underground exploration of the deeps will also continue. 5 extension targets have been identified and will be evaluated by planned underground drilling. Together, our staged approach takes the mine from first production to a long-life, full-scale operation. At steady state, it will process 2.4 million tons of ore per year, producing 22,000 tons of copper and 65,000 tons of zinc in concentrate annually. By reawakening historic assets with modern purpose, Orion Minerals will support growth in the Northern Cape and supply the critical metals needed for the future. Orion Minerals, metals for tomorrow.
There we are, and I hope that gives you a more familiar snapshot of Orion, but most importantly, Prieska. So what we have here is a company snapshot of where we sit at the moment, and you can see that we are split between the ASX and the JSE register, and we have a very good response from the JSE market, and we're very pleased for that. And that continues to be the case, and that is a very important aspect of the organisation and our presence in South Africa. We have a skilled group of people. If the board has been a long-standing supporter of the project, we have been able to bring together a very good and experienced bunch of executives who will see the operation into production. So we have project directors, we have project governance, we have the general manager at Prieska, we have our exploration personnel, and we have our sustainability, along with our investor relations and our financial officer, chief financial officer. These people have vast experience in the organisation and give me and the board great comfort that we will be able to execute very, very well once we have our funding. For a refresher, the Aria Cobalt that was mentioned in the video is where our flagship operation Prieska exists. It is number 1 on the red dots there. And the second project in our portfolio is the O'Keep project, which we are optimising at present. And that sits adjacent to Springbok in the Northern Cape as well. The yellow dotted ellipse that sits there will be something I can talk about a little bit further, but that reflects the area of influence that is the focus of our Explore program with BHP. And as indicated in the video, we are well endowed with, the Northern Cape is well endowed with other operations in a mineral-friendly province. So our 3 strategic priorities: Prieska number 1, O'Keep number 2, and an ongoing look to exploration in the future. First production is expected out of Prieska in Q2 2027, and that has been able to be unlocked by virtue of the funding that Glencore has provided the organisation. That funding is being finalised at present in terms of the conditions precedent, and we look forward to updating the market in the near future as that comes to fruition. O'Keep is also part of the project, and that is undergoing further optimisation and understanding of the ore bodies that make up the project there. Prieska is a large single ore body. O'Keep relies on discrete associated ore bodies, so everything will be coming back to a central processing facility. The exploration pipeline, which includes the primary project of Jacobinspan, is sitting at a concept level study at the moment, and will also be part of our future as we move toward understanding the viability of that project. In association with our exploration portfolio is the BHP Explore program, which we were pleasingly chosen to be part of that cohort in the early portion of this year, and that runs for the course of this year. A simple timeline about how we view the bringing to life of Prieska, O'Keefe, and our broader exploration portfolio is contained here. And it shows that the uppers will be the initial production arena for Prieska as we dewater and develop the prize at the depth of the ore body, being the production at 2.4 million tonnes per annum. Prieska is a fabulous deposit, and we are privileged and happy to be developing it and bringing to life a grand old dame that has existed within South Africa for many years. O'Keefe is also a very prospective part of our portfolio, and over the years, since first copper mining was established there in the 1800s, that region has delivered some 2 million tonnes of copper into the market. And we look forward to bringing that to life further and more fully as we go forward. The exploration portfolio, Explore, runs for the course of this year, and that is where we are looking at developing a systematic and sustained activity in the Northern Cape to grow and replenish the resources that we will be developing during the course of PCZM and O'Keefe. For those who have not seen this before, we are pleased with PCZM, Prieska, being a polymetallic and sitting well down the global cost curve for copper. Middle of quartile 1, and that is a pleasing position. It gives us substantial confidence about the viability and the ongoing profitability of that operation. O'Keefe is in the 3rd quartile and is subject, as it stands at the moment on the DFS, and is subject to an optimisation which is underway at present, and the optimisation will be focused on moving it down the cost curve by reducing capital and moving grade further forward in the production profile. Prieska, the flagship and our key priority. Here are the simple numbers around Prieska. There is 31 million tonnes at about 1.2% copper, 3.6% zinc. But when you look at the revenue, Prieska is fundamentally a copper mine with 2/3 of our revenue coming from the copper that we'll produce. There is initially with the uppers, we'll be producing a bulk concentrate, and that will run for 4 years as we develop the deeper portion of the ore body, which will then be a 12-year lifespan, and will be producing a copper concentrate and a zinc concentrate. You have the numbers there in front of you as to the amount of copper and zinc. NPV, 560 million Australian dollars, IRR at 26%. But the thing that also sits well in the Prieska operation, or the Prieska project, is its capital intensity. When you look at that compared to some of the large open cuts that are being proposed around the world to grow copper production, that capital intensity is around about 50% of the capital intensity needed for a number of other large open cut production operations. As we progress into execution, we have a development strategy which reflects bringing a grand old dame back into production. The Brownfields project and the DFS that was published in March. As I've said, there is an uppers and deeps proportion, and the funding from Glencore has fully funded the uppers portion of the project and allows us to move through execution into production. Our key focus areas, as you can well imagine, are project execution and governance, looking after our shareholders' money as we move through execution. It is then about operational readiness. So when we press the button to get underway, that the project doesn't suffer from a slow ramp up, slow production, that we are ready for production and that we get underway as envisaged and planned. Key parts of our project governance. Value engineering is also very important to us in terms of continually, as we go through the process, ensuring that the function that is designed is produced for the lowest reasonable cost. And that is a very important aspect to us as we go forward. Concentrate by the end of Q2 next year, 2027, and that is be 13 months after finalising our financing. And the additional point is PCZM has significant upside at depth, as highlighted by this slide. The diagram shows the old workings and it shows the new workings, the yellow and blue at the base of the deposit. So they are fresh workings. They are not remnant workings. The uppers are the green in the northwest portion of that diagram. But as I said, there is significant upside with those targets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the base of the deposit. And it shows that once dewatered, we will be converting our resource to reserve. There are still a few portions that need to be upgraded from a resource to reserve position, but we'll also be targeting those key areas there where we think there is much more resource to be exploited at depth. You will see there a few indications of some of the drill holes that have come in over time to give us considerable confidence, along with EM conductors, about the prospect of significant life after our current 31 million tonnes. O'Keep, once again, a similar look in terms of the key metrics. It is a project that when we looked at the NPV and IRR, we thought that this needs further optimisation, as I indicated earlier. And that result is resulting in the optimisation to reduce capital and bring grade forward in the production profile. Once again, O'Keep sits in that pleasant 10,000 tonnes per copper capital intensity. And the difference between Prieska is O'Keep is a collection, as it stands at the moment, of 3 discrete ore bodies which need to be brought back to a central concentrator. Pleasingly, though, in O'Keep, we have been drilling of late, and some of the intersections that we have received are very, very pleasing. The intersections that we drilled during the course of 2024 gave us high confidence that particularly the east and south ore bodies at O'Keep are a high grade style of mineralisation and are open at depth. This diagram shows you the deposits, the north, which we already have access into, but importantly, east and south deposits, whereby some 50 metres in the south deposit at somewhat over 3% copper was intersected, and the recent intersections in Flat Mine East highlighting, once again, significant copper intersections. Hole 153 was from 2024 and indicated almost 50 metres at 5 and a bit % copper. And the two recent holes that have been drilled this year have also, once again, intersected high-grade extensions at depth further downstrike of the Flatmine East ore body. So these are giving us great confidence that the ore bodies are going to yield a very, very good reserve in the future with our optimization. The three ore bodies that were highlighted in the last picture, north, east and south in yellow, are the start of the O'Keefe province. You can see the additional prospects that we have in O'Keefe, the white circles. So we have a number of deposits there. But as I said, they are deposits that are discrete, and we need to work back to a central concentrator. And that is the work that is underway at the moment, and we are looking to the future to bring those deposits online in a sequential, planned and deliberate manner. BHP Explore. This was a very pleasing addition to our portfolio earlier this year and is about understanding probably one of the world's most underdeveloped or underexplored, I should say, copper provinces in the world in the Bushman's Land Area Cup region of the Northern Cape. It was pleasing that Orion was chosen out of some 780 applicants for the BHP Explore program to partner with them and bring together a better and more thorough understanding of copper and what is available in this part of the world. BHP Explore brings a lot of technology to it. However, Orion's IP in terms of understanding the nature of the area and the copper genesis that exists there is the thing that attracted BHP to our organisation earlier this year. This is a very pleasing part of our portfolio. So, why invest in Orion? We think the rationale for investing in Orion is on the foundation of a multi-asset copper producer and the exploration portfolio that we are embarking on. Our flagship is one of the top VMS deposits in the world. It was, as I've said already in this presentation, it was a stunning producer of copper in the 1970s and 1980s. And when you have a look at our picture of Orion, we are moving into fresh ore at the depth, at depth in the ore body. And that is a very pleasing aspect to have in our portfolio. O'Keefe provides near-term growth. It is different ore bodies, different nature, but it is about being able to have a very substantial footprint in South Africa's one of South Africa's premium copper producing precincts. We are very pleased to have that in our portfolio. The exploration portfolio in the Northern Cape is very much a key part of our thinking and our understanding, and Explore, by virtue of BHP, adds to the potential we have to bring to the market. PCZM, a historical benchmark. We have new experienced leadership with proven track records in project execution and operations, and PCZM being in the lowest quartile of the global cost curve positions the organisation very well. So, on that basis, that is the presentation, and I hope that has given you an excellent update on what we have and where we're going.
Tony, very thanks for joining us once again, and I'd like to welcome everyone else on the call. I see we've got 80 or 90 people joining us today, so thanks to everyone for taking the time out to listen to Tony's presentation and our Q&A here. Tony, I'd like you've given us a very good overview of timelines, assets, execution program for Orion, but I would like to take maybe a higher level view, which you didn't really address in the presentation, of where the copper market sits globally, because we're at decade high prices at like $6 a pound, and lots of talk about copper for electrification, urbanization globally, and there's like a chronic undersupply of copper from my kind of loose reading. But for somebody who's in the copper trenches, maybe just set the scene of, keep as an up and coming copper producer in the supply and demand globally of kind of where copper is today.
Well, Mark, an excellent question. In my mining career, some 40 odd years, copper has always been a desirable metal. And when you look at the copper growth over the last 150 years, it just keeps going up, and it's almost on a log scale. I read only last week that since time immemorial, there's been somewhere in the vicinity of 700 million tonnes of copper produced. So globally, since production first started. The article then went on to indicate, whether it's correct or not, that to achieve the world's net zero emissions, we'll need another 700 million tonnes of copper by about 2050. So copper is a very important commodity in the global decarbonisation of the world. It is pleasing to see prices where they are at the moment, but when you're a producer like Orion is, it is most important that we sit with a very low cost base, and that is why Prieska sitting in quartile one of global copper producers is an excellent position for us. That guarantees margin to the company. It guarantees profit for our investors. So if you look at the global thematics, copper is just going in one direction, and it is good to be part of the red metal, as people often put it. And I think it is the most important thing we focus on is ensuring that our cost position will be as low as possible, and therefore offering us the greatest freeboard against price, and therefore margin and profit.
Maybe I can jump in here. Congrats to the Orion team. You made a lot of progress in the past year, as reflected in the share price. So well done. I think we have to try and ask you the question that everyone wants to ask you, although it's difficult for you to talk about, which is around timing and Glencore and, getting that across the line and everything else. So obviously recognizing that, you can't tell us anything that is not public, but perhaps you can give the commentary you can give around how you're feeling about that progress, etc. And investors will obviously have to just take that into account, because you can't tell us anything that you haven't put out on SENS.
Look, thank you for giving me somewhat of an exit at the outset in terms of, no, we can't talk about what we haven't put to the market, but we have been working during the last 12 months with a very serious and deliberate priority: Prieska, O'Keefe, and then exploration. Orion, everyone in the market, well, everyone who follows us and is interested, we understand we're a junior. We have been dealing with one of the majors in terms of Glencore. For those who had a look at the presentation, we've also got Triple Flag, which is a very substantial provider of streams out of Canada. We have BHP Explore. So I think during the last 12 months, we have demonstrated that we have the ability, and I don't like using the term punch above your weight, but to engage and have good relationships with the majors. We have been steadfastly moving through all the processes. When you look at Orion in South Africa, Glencore based out of Switzerland, Triple Flag Precious Metals out of Canada. These are global entities, and to get the investment and to get the finance flowing into our project and therefore get profits flowing out to our investors, that takes a little bit of time. And I think recent announcements that we have put into the market are very clear that we are very deliberate, very purposeful, and we will achieve what we have set out to achieve.
Bonnie, if I could just touch on the drilling results, some like very encouraging drill results that have come out. I'm just wondering, with these drill results and probably other drilling programs that are kind of underway or in planning for later this year, early next year, are you expecting to put together an updated JORC resource for Orion as a whole, for O'Keefe as part of its, financing DFS or pre-scale? Maybe just touch on where all these drilling results kind of come to a point in an updated JORC resource for Orion.
Very good question. I think the market understands Prieska is sitting there awaiting funding. We know where we're going there. We know the initial steps we have to get underway. O'Keefe, though, with the optimization, the new drilling, the new drill results we've announced, it just gives you wonderful confidence that we have a province there that will deliver for us. When we have reached a position that the board is comfortable with the optimization, we will come back to the market and advise the market. But you understand that those drill results get fed into the resource model. We then apply mining to it. So there is once again, I do want to emphasize a methodical, deliberate process to get there. And I think that those drill results are a wonderful first start to ensuring that we come up with a new and interesting optimization. When I say interesting, I trust that it will be pleasing to the market.
It's perhaps an unusual question, but I've got it twice in my DMs, so I'm going to have to throw it your way, Tony. So obviously, we've got the platinum belt and we've got lots of people who operate in that area. You're in a copper area, and another company on the JSE that talks about OKIP is Copper 360, which is obviously nothing to do with you guys. But I mean, one person's asking if you're going to merge with them, which clearly is another thing you can't talk about. But perhaps what you could just do is maybe just give us a sense of the broader area, where your stuff sits. Is the Copper 360 stuff kind of next door? Just very high level. You understand that part of South Africa. And I think people are just trying to understand your piece, their piece. I know it's a tricky question, but I think it's because copper is still so new to South African investors, even though this resource is so old. And I think people are just trying to understand the context of where you're at versus what they have.
Thank you very much for that question. And for those who aren't fully aware, whilst I'm with Orion, there was a period previously where I ran Palabora Mining Company for Rio Tinto. So I do understand a little bit about copper in South Africa, although I hail from Australia. If you look at the O'Keefe region in a very broad brush, Orion has the three projects, or we combine it all into O'Keefe, Flatmine North, East and South. Our tenements are in large part to the west, and Copper 360's tenements are in large part. It's not an absolute straight line ruler, as you would appreciate. They're to the east. And we both have offices and central facilities. Copper 360 has their processing facility at Nubber Beep, north of Springbok. That's where our current office is as well. So we know one another. We have a cup of coffee. I know our personnel have a cup of coffee with one another from time to time. And Copper 360 and ourselves have a healthy and respectful relationship. So all I can say is just, stay tuned. I can't indicate one way or another whether we'll continue to operate separately or whether there may be something in the making further down the road. But we have a good relationship with them. They're excellent neighbours, and I'll leave it at that for the time being.
Connie, just I know Transnet have had their woes, although we have heard from a few other mining companies that have been on here and a few agricultural companies marginally improving. I'm just wondering how that affects your kind of like long-term planning. Do you discount being able to use any of their infrastructure to move ore around or out to port or to customers? Or do you kind of bank on, under the leadership of Michelle Phillips, things seem to be improving and the deregulation is happening with Transnet, just how they because obviously you don't want to be building a rail line next door to their rail line if at all possible.
Very good point. The rail network in South Africa is very extensive, and some of it is better than others. And we, at this point in time, will be initially trucking material because we start with a small production level in the uppers, then we go to the larger production level in the deeps. We'll be trucking material out of Prieska. Whether that goes all the way on trucks to the port, or whether we come together with Transnet for a truck rail arrangement, that is still work in progress, and we will work with that. But we have identified as Port Elizabeth Cooker as a place of export for our material, but we will continue to update that. And it is good to see that Transnet is improving as well, because it's absolutely vital to the likes of Orion, who we don't have the volume to be able to accommodate dedicated logistics infrastructure. So we do have to work with others that have the networks and have the ability to provide it for us. So we'll continue to work through all that.
Got another question here around timing of production. I mean, no surprises there, Tony. So the question, which I think is fair to ask, is to say, and I think I also heard you say it earlier, that it would take around 13 months from money landing in your bank account to basically hit production. You can just confirm if we heard that correctly or not. But yep. So I guess the question is, and obviously, again, it's difficult. You can't comment on Glencore. I know that. But let's say Glencore closed right now, today, miraculously, and the money hits your bank account tomorrow. That's not how real life works, but let's say it did. Would that
we only wish.
Yes, exactly. In the context of your broader timelines, I guess people are just doing the maths and saying, okay, are we on track for that pretty slide you had at the front with the different timelines? Maybe you can just give investors some comfort, I suppose, or highlight the risk here of missing that timeline, perhaps. I think that's really what's coming through in these questions.
Good question. It is definitely 13 months from when we have funds in the bank to first concentrate being available out of the uppers, bulk concentrate. We are all now in a position where we are shovel ready. So the only thing we are needing is the money. We have 4 fundamental contracts that are ready to be awarded. One is a village on site to start construction. The second one is the contract for our boot concentrator for 240,000 tonne per annum throughput, which is about 30 tonnes per hour, which is not a large number. Third contract is for underground stope definition drilling for drill and blast fundamentally. And the last contract is for the underground production. They are all sitting, and as you can appreciate with the timing, they are idling and ready to be put into gear. So that is, the work packages that we are ready with. Overlaying on top of that is the project execution governance. And if you were to go to Priesca at the moment, you would see that we are fully equipped and ready for execution. So the money comes in, we know how to allocate it, we know what our reporting requirements, we have proper governance in that arena. So once again, that is waiting. And as you say, it'd be wonderful if money turned up tomorrow. I don't think that's going to happen, but as soon as we finalise Glencore, we'll be into the market to let you know.
Sure, I'm sure you will. It'll be an easy announcement to craft and sign off on. Whether it gets to the ASX or the JSE first, I don't think it'll really matter. But speaking on the ASX and the JSE, the dual listing, Tony, it was interesting to see the split of shareholders is pretty much 50-50. So it's taken, it's taken an interest in both markets, and maybe, I guess, maybe just comment on, do you still see that like persisting over the long term? Obviously you're doing Unlock the Stock here, which is for the South African kind of audience more specifically, but maybe just give us a touch on, I guess, why the Australian investors are seeing so much interest in keep giving, none of the assets are based in Australia.
Well, I think it comes down to, Mark, investors are there for to get a return on their investment, and I'm very pleased with the way the JSE has supported Orion over an extended period. The retail investors and the serious and significant investors in South Africa through the JSE have been excellent support for us. ASX long-term support as well, and I think the thing that is attractive for Orion is that, having worked in both jurisdictions, there is, from a mining perspective, both a very mature, very capable mining precincts. And, I'm here in South Africa, there's a host of South Africans in Australia. So there is an equivalence between the two regions. And I think that the ASX investors, they enjoy the opportunities and the prospects that Africa make available, whether it's South Africa or other portions of Africa. You see a lot of investment in other portions of Africa. They appreciate that. And similarly, Australia has a very good understanding of quality mining, quality resources as well. So it's pleasing to have both jurisdictions on our register. And I should say, here I am talking in large part to the JSE register, but Avishka and I are regularly commenting into the Australian register and the Australian markets as well.
Yes, I know some of our attendees might be interested to know. I know in Perth once a year they run a full mining conference focused on ASX companies that have operations in Africa. So it's when you say it's a mature market, both from a operational mining perspective, also from an investment standpoint, can support a standalone conference purely focused on mining operations in Africa that just happen to be listed on the ASX.
Sure.
Tony, I'm going to ask you one more about Glencore because my DMs are on fire. I wish my DMs saw this much action in high school, but alas. So lots of questions here around this thing. And I think it's also just because you've got a wide range of retail investors who maybe don't necessarily have a huge amount of, I don't want to say understanding, but not maybe familiarity with how long these things sometimes take, how the conditions precedent kind of work. So perhaps you could just talk, and this is the last question on Glencore, high level to just the conditions you do need to meet for the funds to flow, just to give people an idea of where you're at, what conditions are there still to come?
Yeah, look, there is the essence of the Glencore arrangement is the offtake agreement. So we produced, Glencore get to market our concentrate. What we achieved with Glencore last year was that they will provide us with the $250 million as not totally upfront. It does come in a number of tranches to assist us with developing the Prieska project. It is not all the money, but it's a large portion. But you have issues, CPs about South African Reserve Bank. So moving large portions of money into South Africa for our benefit, and us also repaying Glencore along the way. Because we have a number of creditors, we have Glencore, we have Triple Flag. There are CPs around how those two organisations work in terms of security. So that's another dimension that exists in there. And there is also ensuring that the terms on the prepayment of the 250 are appropriate to both ourselves and Glencore. So those are the matters that you work for. So large amounts of money do require large governance, and I can assure you there's been a number of law firms assisting us.
Mark's given me the green light to carry on because I still have questions. So Tony, one more on, no, I'm joking, no more on Glencore. We're moving on now. So I'd like to ask about some of the IRR numbers that you've put out there, internal rates of return. And maybe this is another good opportunity to just help people understand what it means when a DFS comes out and says, well, there's an IRR of 26%, or at OKIP it's 19%. And I guess what I'd like you to talk to is just high level, what are the absolute key inputs that would drive a number like that? Because these DFSs become old quite quickly, right? And things do change all the time. So that's just the one point, is what sort of variables go into these things? And then what sort of cost of capital are you looking at from a South African perspective for these assets? I think it'll just help investors understand what a number like that actually means when they see it in one of your slides.
Okay, well, look, let me answer cost of capital. That's 8%. Okay. So they're simple. The DFS, NPV, IRR. So fundamentally, NPV, the weighted cost of cash flow over a time, less the capital we go into it. The ore bodies, both Prieska, OKIP, don't change. What we have to do is progressively delineate the ore bodies, and as we delineate the ore bodies, fundamentally through drilling and access, and they are by the two main arenas. That lets us develop our mining plan. And the mining plan is the key to it. You have to be very certain in an underground about how you'll access a portion of the ore body underground. So whether the access way comes in a curve or a straight line or it zigzags, depending on the ore body, the best way to access an underground piece of ore is by the shortest line. So whatever equals the least number of meters is the best way to access it. Then you have to sequence how you'll extract the ore in the underground. So whether portion A comes before B, comes before C, or sometimes it goes A, C, B for a number of reasons. And within those portions, it's about endeavouring to chase the highest grade first. Now, that doesn't indicate high grading, but it does say that if you are getting the highest grade out first, then you're getting the maximum revenue to repay the debt you've incurred in establishing the mine. So the undergrounds do require significant cyclical working to ensure that you're getting the right profile. By comparison, and it's not as simple as that, when you're in an open cut, you truck a truckload of ore or waste, they come both out the same route. One goes to the concentrator, one goes to the waste dump. The underground is it has much more, if you want to use the term, linear programming to ensure that you're extracting it well. All of the costs associated with getting the best sequence of underground extraction is what drives your NPV. And when you apply the cost of getting that done, that comes out to, it develops your internal rate of return. So typically, if you've got an IRR of north of 20%, it's looking acceptable, it's looking good. The NPV then is just a scale effect. So a large project can have a huge NPV, but it can also have a huge capital bill. Smaller projects can have a lesser NPV, but a lesser capital bill. So it is an iterative but deliberate, long-standing process.
Thank you. I think let's maybe then just talk a little bit about the deeps. So maybe just also for my own understanding, in terms of execution risk, it sounds to me like deeps would be harder than uppers with my very low level mining knowledge. It just sounds like the more you dig, the harder it gets. Maybe you can confirm or deny that. And I guess the next point would be as well, like, are there learnings that you'll be able to take from the uppers into the deeps side of the project, or are these really just so different and so distinct that there isn't really a learning curve that you're climbing by getting the uppers out of the way?
The uppers, in large part, lets us re-establish mining operations at the town of Prieska after, what is it now, 35 years of standstill. So Prieska, excellent town, all of the alike, but to re-establish significant mining in a 2.4 million tonne per annum underground mine it will have a substantial impact on the community. So we're very conscious of that. The uppers allows us to establish our safety systems, our community engagement, our environmental at a smaller scale than the larger 2.4 million tonne. So there is a very significant and important overlay about our environmental sustainability governance that will be unfurled as the uppers are in production. Having said that, there is understanding about the way the ground behaves, the underground environment, whether it's strong, whether it's weak, whether it needs a whole host of different configurations to be optimal. The pleasing thing is, whilst the uppers are above the water level and we have to dewater, there's 22 months of dewatering, the water will be receding in the shaft about vertically 1 metre per day on average over the next 22 months. That then allows us to re-equip the shaft in a very controlled manner. It allows us to re-establish. We have a decline from surface all the way to the bottom of the shaft, 975 metres. It allows us to re-establish that. So a lot of material, equipment and supplies will come down the decline as opposed to having coming down the shaft in some of your conventional deep shaft mines. So that water recession or receding will allow us ample time, ample ability to do it in a very controlled manner, given the experience being brought together with our executive team. When we get the water to the base of the shaft, we will have a sort of a balloon event whereby we'll have to re-establish ore handling, re-establish crushers and the alike, but that is well catered for, it is well planned. The benefit is that when you had a look at that slide I put together, and it's available on our website, we are not working in old workings. We are working in new, fresh, virgin ore. That has a significant difference from what would what is known in the industry as remnant mining. And that is where we are very comfortable that we'll be able to get the 2.4 million. And the major constraint on that 2.4 will be the amount of material that comes up the shaft. But that is the nature of the Prieska deposit. So there will be learnings on a mining basis, but that can be transferred to the deeps. But the uppers allows us to establish our presence fully and functionally in Prieska in a very orderly, controlled, and deliberate manner.
Tony, thank you so much again for a very detailed presentation and a lot of questions that were asked and very well answered. So thank you to everyone who chose to spend time with us today, and a special thanks goes to Tony, Dennis, and Avi for making this time to support this platform and to engage with retail investors. Our next session takes place on the 23rd of July, and we're pleased to welcome back to Unlock the Stock PBT Group. That is all from my side. Goodbye. Thank you so much again, Tony.
Thank you, Vanessa.